The arrival. Malcolm Harris stepped out of the sleek black car that had driven him from the airport, the vehicle's polished surface reflecting the mid-morning sun. His hands were shoved deep into the pockets of his worn jeans, an intentional choice to blend in with the bustling city around him. Today, he had opted for a plain t-shirt and comfortable sneakers, a stark contrast to the crisp suits that usually adorned his frame during board meetings or public appearances. The casual outfit was a deliberate disguise. He needed to be invisible. As the CEO of a luxurious hotel chain, Malcolm was no stranger to the complexities of his industry. He was a self-made man, a testament to hard work and resilience, having risen from humble beginnings to become a figure synonymous with success. Yet today was not about basking in accolades or attending high-profile events. Today was about observation, about witnessing the authenticity of his business from the ground up, without the veil of recognition. He stood for a moment outside the hotel he owned, allowing himself a brief moment of pride. The structure loomed elegantly before him, its modern facade of glass and steel glistening in the sunlight. This hotel was not just another property in his portfolio. It was his pride and joy, a culmination of years of labor, dreams, and ambition. He felt a swell of satisfaction wash over him, tempered by the knowledge that he was about to step into a world that, despite his success, still viewed him through a lens clouded by prejudice. Malcolm was aware of the challenges he faced in his position, particularly the unyielding assumptions tied to the color of his skin. These were obstacles he had navigated his entire life. Even now, as he stood outside the doors of his own establishment, he anticipated the potential for bias. He had come to expect it. But in the heart of his spirit, he hoped for progress and the chance to witness genuine interactions between his staff and the guests they served. As he approached the gleaming glass doors of the hotel, his heart raced, not from anxiety, but from excitement and a tinge of apprehension. Would he be able to witness how his employees treated individuals who looked like him? Would he find that the hotel he worked so hard to build truly embraced diversity and inclusion? Or would he discover that old prejudices still lingered within the walls he had fought so hard to construct? "Hey, you can't go in there." A voice, sharp and authoritative, broke through his thoughts, cutting the air with unexpected hostility. Malcolm paused, feeling a knot tighten in his stomach. "You need to leave." The voice belonged to Paul, the hotel's security guard, a man with an imposing stature and an air of arrogance that belied his position. Malcolm's initial instinct was to brush it off, to walk past and continue with his observations. However, the accusation hung in the air, a stinging reminder of the biases he thought he had long overcome. "Look," Malcolm began, striving to keep his voice calm. "I'm here on business." Paul cut him off, raising his voice to draw attention. "Business? Dressed like that?" He eyed Malcolm's casual attire with disdain, as if it were a personal affront. "Don't give me that. I'm asking you nicely to leave. You don't look like you have any business in a place like this." Malcolm felt a flicker of anger rising within him, an emotion he had worked hard to control over the years. It was not just the words, but the tone, the unwavering certainty with which this man had decided he didn't belong. This was not the first time he had encountered such disdain, and he was sure it wouldn't be the last. "Perhaps I should speak to the manager," Malcolm suggested, his voice level, though inside he was wrestling with frustration. "No," Paul replied defiantly. "I suggest you leave before I call the cops." The threat hung in the air, charged and heavy. Malcolm could see the expressions of the other staff members shifting, their faces a blend of curiosity and embarrassment as they glanced in his direction. Among them stood Samantha, the hotel's general manager, watching the confrontation unfold from the far side of the lobby. A cold sweat formed at the back of her neck. She recognized Malcolm, of course. He was a figure she had only encountered in corporate meetings, a voice on the phone discussing strategies, a name in emails about company policy. Yet now, witnessing him being humiliated in front of guests and staff, she felt frozen. torn between her role as a leader and the undeniable injustice happening before her. Samantha's thoughts raced. She had heard whispers about Paul's questionable behavior, murmurs of his dismissive attitude toward certain guests, but nothing concrete had ever surfaced to warrant a serious discussion. Now, however, as she watched this unfold, the truth became starkly apparent. Here was a man who had invested in their establishment, a man who had provided jobs and opportunities for many, being confronted with prejudice at the very entrance of his own hotel. "Paul, that's enough," Samantha called out, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. The authority in her tone demanded immediate attention. "You need to step away and let this gentleman in." Paul turned to her, incredulous, as if she had struck him. "But he doesn't belong here," he argued, still standing his ground, his posture defiant. "And how would you know that?" Samantha shot back, her frustration boiling over. "He's a guest, and as such, deserves the same respect as anyone else walking through those doors." She stepped closer to Malcolm, her expression shifting from shock to empathy. "I'm so sorry for this," she said softly, her eyes filled with sincerity. "Please come in. We value every guest here." Malcolm's heart swelled with mixed emotions, anger at the situation, but also gratitude towards Samantha for stepping in. He straightened, the fire in his chest slowly cooling as he replied, "Thank you." As he walked past Paul and into the lobby, he felt a rush of conflicting feelings. The lobby was bustling with guests, a vibrant mix of people who reflected the diversity of the city. Couples chatted animatedly, families gathered around the check-in desk, and a group of business professionals networked by the coffee bar. For a brief moment, he let himself revel in the vibrancy, the success of his vision. Samantha led him deeper into the hotel, her demeanor shifting from defensive to welcoming. "I can't believe Paul acted that way. It's unacceptable," she said, her voice low but intense. "He's been warned before, but I never thought he'd go this far." Malcolm nodded, still feeling the weight of the earlier confrontation. "It's not just Paul. It's a reminder of how much work we still have to do in this industry, in society." As they walked through the lobby, he observed the interactions between the staff and guests, noting every smile, every welcoming gesture. But the lingering tension of Paul's words haunted him. "This hotel is beautiful," he said, trying to refocus. "I'm proud of what we've built." "Thank you," Samantha replied, her tone softer now. "I'm proud to be a part of it. We've worked hard to create an inclusive environment, but it's a continuous effort." Malcolm glanced around, his eyes narrowing as he took in the decor. Art pieces showcasing the city's rich history, subtle touches of elegance that spoke to the brand's luxurious ethos. Yet he knew that the true measure of success wasn't just in aesthetics, but in how everyone was treated, regardless of their background. "Let me show you around," she offered. "I want you to see what we've been up to." He followed her, still acutely aware of the eyes of the staff on him. Their expressions were a mix of confusion and relief, and Malcolm couldn't shake the feeling that Paul's actions had stained what should have been a celebratory day of engagement. As they moved through the hotel, Samantha detailed various initiatives she had implemented: diversity training sessions, community outreach programs, and partnerships with local organizations. Each step was a reminder of the journey they had undertaken together and the battles they still had to face. "Have you seen the new rooftop lounge?" she asked, guiding him towards the elevator. "I think you'll love it." Malcolm nodded, forcing a smile, but the earlier confrontation remained lodged in his mind like a thorn. He was a successful businessman, an owner of multiple properties, yet here he was, forced to defend his presence in a space he had built. It was a bitter reminder of the battles that lay ahead, not just for himself, but for countless others who faced similar prejudices in their daily lives. As the elevator doors slid shut, the tension dissipated momentarily. He took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "This will be a valuable experience," he told himself. "I'll take the lessons learned today and use them to drive change." The elevator dinged, and the doors opened to reveal the rooftop lounge, a sprawling space adorned with lush greenery and breathtaking views of the city skyline. "Wow," he breathed, stepping out. "This is incredible." Samantha smiled, her pride evident. "We wanted to create a space where everyone feels welcome, where they can enjoy the beauty of our city. We host events for local artists, community gatherings. It's been a wonderful addition." Malcolm's heart swelled with hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was still a chance to bridge the gap between aspiration and reality, between the beauty of success and the harsh truths of prejudice. As he looked out over the city, he realized he was ready to embrace that challenge, ready to use his position not just for himself, but for everyone who had been silenced, marginalized, or dismissed. "I want to help," he said finally, determination creeping into his voice. "I want to make sure this hotel not only serves luxury, but also serves the community. I want to ensure that no one ever feels like they don't belong here again." Samantha nodded, her eyes bright with agreement. "Together, we can make a difference." And in that moment, Malcolm knew he had a new mission, one that extended beyond his hotels and into the very fabric of society. It was time to shift the narrative, to stand tall against prejudice, and to ensure that every person, regardless of their skin color, was treated with dignity and respect in every space they entered. A lesson in humanity. The sun dipped lower in the sky as Malcolm and Samantha stood on the rooftop lounge, the vibrant hues of sunset casting a warm glow across the city. The atmosphere was electric, alive with the sounds of laughter and conversation as guests mingled, oblivious to the earlier tension in the lobby. For Malcolm, the vista was breathtaking, but it also served as a stark reminder of the divide he aimed to bridge. As they gazed out at the skyline, Malcolm's mind began to race. He envisioned the potential of his hotel chain not just as a luxury brand, but as a sanctuary, a place where everyone could feel valued and respected. He could already see the changes he wanted to implement. Awareness campaigns, partnerships with local community organizations, and most importantly, training programs that educated staff on the significance of diversity and inclusion. "Do you see it?" Samantha asked, breaking his reverie. "The way the city lights up at night. It's like a tapestry, each light representing a different story, a different life." "I do," Malcolm replied, his voice softening. "It's beautiful and complex, just like the people who live here." He paused, contemplating the moment. But beauty is only surface deep if the stories behind those lights are marred by inequality and prejudice. Samantha turned to him, her expression serious. "You're right. I've seen it too often. People judge not by who they are, but by how they look. It's frustrating, especially when I know how hard we've worked to create an inclusive environment." Malcolm nodded, feeling a wave of gratitude for her candor. It's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture in the day-to-day operations, but we can't afford to become complacent. There's so much more we can do, and I want to be part of that change. As the sun sank lower, casting a kaleidoscope of colors across the horizon, Malcolm felt a sense of urgency wash over him. He turned to Samantha, his eyes serious. "I want to hold a community meeting, a town hall of sorts. We can invite local leaders, residents, and even former guests. Let's discuss their experiences and gather insights on how we can improve." Samantha's eyes sparkled with excitement. "That's a fantastic idea. I think it would open up lines of communication and foster understanding between our hotel and the community. But we should also think about making it a regular event, an ongoing dialogue." Malcolm felt invigorated by her enthusiasm. "Exactly. This can't be a one-time thing. It needs to be a commitment, a part of our culture." "Then let's get started," she said, already pulling out her phone to begin jotting down ideas. As the evening progressed, they planned logistics, brainstorming ways to engage the community and foster inclusivity. The rooftop buzzed with energy. Guests enjoyed their drinks, the air filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. But amidst the revelry, Malcolm's mind kept returning to Paul's earlier confrontation. What would have happened if I hadn't spoken up? He wondered aloud, his expression pensive. What if I hadn't been the owner? Samantha frowned, clearly troubled by the thought. That's the harsh reality we live in. Many people don't have the same privilege. They are denied opportunities and faced with prejudice daily. It's infuriating. Malcolm sighed deeply, feeling the weight of the world pressing on his shoulders. That's why it's so important for us to be advocates. We have to leverage our positions to uplift others. We can't ignore the voices that are often silenced. Just then, the lounge doors swung open, and a few guests from the lobby ventured outside. Among them was a family, a mother, father, and their 2 children. The mother caught sight of Malcolm and Samantha, and her expression brightened. "Excuse me," she called out, approaching them. "Are you the general manager?" Samantha smiled warmly. "Yes, I am. How can I help you?" The woman hesitated, glancing at Malcolm, and then back at Samantha. "We were just checking out your rooftop. It's beautiful. But I wanted to say how much we appreciated the hospitality we received during our stay. It made our family feel so welcome." Malcolm's heart swelled at her words. Moments like this reaffirmed his belief that they were on the right path. He stepped forward, introducing himself. "I'm Malcolm Harris, the owner of this hotel. Thank you for your kind words." The family's eyes widened in surprise. "Wait, you're the owner?" the father asked, disbelief etched on his face. "Yes, I am," Malcolm replied, smiling. "And I'm glad to hear you enjoyed your stay. Your experience is what we strive for." As they chatted, the family shared their experiences, the father recounting a time when they had been turned away from another hotel due to a misunderstanding about their reservation. "We were so relieved to find a place that didn't judge us by appearances," he said. "Your staff was so accommodating and friendly." Samantha beamed at the compliment. "We believe that everyone deserves to feel welcome, no matter their background. But hearing feedback like yours motivates us to keep pushing for progress." The mother nodded enthusiastically. "We plan to tell our friends and family about this place. It's refreshing to see a hotel that prioritizes kindness." Malcolm felt a warmth spreading through him. Moments like this were what drove him to create spaces where people could feel at home. "Thank you. It means a lot to hear that. We're committed to ensuring that every guest feels valued." As the family took a few photos with the skyline as their backdrop, Malcolm felt a renewed sense of purpose. It was time to turn the page, to ensure that their hotel wasn't just a sanctuary for some but a beacon of hope for all. "Let's make this rooftop our launching pad for community engagement," Malcolm suggested to Samantha after the family left. "We can host events here, bring in local artists, musicians, and even chefs. It could be a space for dialogue and connection." Samantha's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Yes, we can also collaborate with local schools and organizations. Imagine the possibilities if we create a platform for underrepresented voices." Malcolm's heart raced at the idea. "We could even establish scholarships for students pursuing careers in hospitality. Investing in the next generation is crucial." As they continued brainstorming, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a deep orange hue over the city. The rooftop transformed, the lights twinkling like stars in the dusk. The ambience felt magical, filled with the promise of new beginnings and a vision for the future. But Malcolm knew that the journey wouldn't be easy. They would face challenges, pushback, and perhaps even the bitter taste of failure. However, he was resolute. "We need to be bold," he said. "Let's take risks and challenge the status quo. Our actions must speak louder than our words." "Agreed," Samantha replied, her determination matching his. "And we can't do this alone. We need to involve our staff and the community every step of the way. Their input will be invaluable." As they wrapped up their plans for the evening, the energy in the air shifted, turning from excitement to contemplation. The rooftop was now filled with the sounds of laughter and music, but beneath it all, Malcolm felt a profound responsibility weighing on him. "What do you think the community will say?" he asked Samantha, genuine curiosity lacing his tone. "Do you think they'll be receptive?" Samantha shrugged, her brow furrowed in thought. Change can be intimidating. Some may question our motives, while others might doubt our sincerity. But we can't let fear hold us back. The important thing is to stay authentic and transparent. Malcolm nodded, inspired by her unwavering belief in their mission. Let's show them that our actions align with our words. We need to be a part of the community, not just an establishment within it. As they stood on the rooftop, overlooking the city they both loved, Malcolm felt a flicker of hope igniting in his chest. He was ready to use his platform for something greater than himself. It was a daunting task, but he was no stranger to challenges. In the coming weeks, Malcolm and Samantha dove headfirst into their plans, reaching out to local leaders, organizing meetings, and brainstorming initiatives that would foster inclusivity within their hotel and the surrounding community. Each conversation sparked new ideas. Each meeting revealed untapped potential, and soon the vision began to crystallize. The rooftop lounge would not just be a gathering place. It would become a hub of engagement, creativity, and healing, a space where people from all walks of life could come together, share their stories, and learn from one another. The journey ahead would be filled with obstacles, but with every small step, they were transforming not just their hotel, but the very fabric of the community around them. And as they forged ahead, Malcolm felt a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to ensure that everyone, regardless of their background, could experience the warmth and hospitality his hotels were meant to embody. Bridging the divide. The first rays of sunlight broke over the horizon, illuminating the city below in a golden glow. Malcolm stood on the balcony of his hotel suite, watching the world wake up. It was a moment of peace before the day's challenges unfolded. The rooftop lounge that had once only been a space for socializing was now a canvas for transformation. He took a deep breath, allowing the crisp morning air to fill his lungs, invigorating him for the work ahead. Over the past few weeks, Malcolm and Samantha had poured their hearts into organizing the upcoming community town hall. The planning sessions were electric, filled with ideas, hope, and a shared vision of breaking down barriers that had long existed. They had contacted local community leaders, activists, and even artists, inviting them to speak and share their experiences. They wanted this event to be not just a dialogue, but a celebration of diversity, an acknowledgement of the voices that had too often been silenced. Samantha burst through the door, her face flushed with excitement. "Malcolm, I just spoke with Carla, the director of the local youth center. She wants to partner with us to host workshops for kids interested in hospitality and entrepreneurship. We could really make an impact." Malcolm felt a surge of joy at her enthusiasm. "That's fantastic. We need to provide young people with tools to succeed, to show them that the hospitality industry is a viable option. They deserve to see themselves in those roles." Samantha nodded, her eyes shining. "And we can also invite local chefs to come in and teach cooking classes. There's so much talent in this city that's going unnoticed." As they discussed further details, Malcolm's mind raced with possibilities. They could host weekly events that highlighted different aspects of the community, cultural celebrations, art exhibits, and music festivals. The hotel could become a hub for creativity, a place where people gathered not only to stay but to learn, collaborate, and celebrate their heritage. However, amidst the excitement, he felt a lingering worry. "Samantha," he began, his voice turning serious. "What if we're not received well? What if the community doesn't trust us?" Samantha paused, sensing the weight behind his words. "That's a valid concern. Trust takes time, especially when there's a history of exclusion. But I believe that if we show genuine commitment and listen to their needs, they will come to see us as allies." "I hope you're right," Malcolm replied, feeling a mixture of hope and apprehension. "I know that my position comes with privilege, but I also know what it feels like to be judged based on the color of my skin. I want to make sure we're not just making empty promises." Samantha smiled reassuringly. "That's why we need to be transparent about our intentions. We should let them know that we're here to support and uplift. Our actions must reflect our words. The conversation continued as they prepared for the town hall, laying out the logistics and refining their mission. As the date approached, the anticipation grew. Malcolm spent sleepless nights thinking about the potential outcomes. He wanted to ensure that everyone who walked through the hotel doors felt welcome and valued. On the day of the event, the rooftop lounge buzzed with energy. Colorful banners adorned the walls, and tables filled with local delicacies showcased the diversity of the community. Local musicians set up their instruments, preparing to fill the air with music that resonated with the spirit of the city. As guests began to arrive, Malcolm greeted them at the entrance, his heart pounding with both excitement and anxiety. The crowd was a beautiful mosaic: families, young adults, seniors, and children, all mingling and chatting. He could see the curiosity on their faces, a mixture of skepticism and hope. "Welcome," he called out, his voice steadied despite the whirlwind of emotions inside him. "We're thrilled to have you here. Today is about celebrating our community and fostering understanding." Samantha joined him, her warmth radiating as she engaged with the attendees, introducing herself and sharing the hotel's vision. As the minutes passed, Malcolm felt the atmosphere shift. People began to relax, laughter echoed, and conversations flowed more freely. The event kicked off with a local leader sharing their story. As they spoke, Malcolm was struck by the raw honesty in their words. They recounted experiences of exclusion, highlighting the barriers they faced and the strength they found within their communities. Each story resonated deeply, reminding everyone in attendance of the importance of empathy and understanding. Malcolm found himself captivated, hanging on to every word. The experiences shared echoed his own struggles, and he felt a connection with the audience, an unspoken bond formed through shared experiences of resilience. After the initial speeches, they held breakout sessions where attendees could voice their concerns and suggestions. The conversations were lively, passionate, and at times heated. Malcolm listened intently, taking notes and absorbing the insights shared. He knew that each word was a piece of the puzzle that would shape the hotel's future and the community's perception of it. One participant, a young woman named Aisha, spoke up with courage, her voice steadied despite her nerves. "I've lived in this neighborhood all my life, and I've seen so many businesses come and go. It's refreshing to see a hotel that's willing to engage with us. But it can't just be about one event. We need to see ongoing support." Malcolm nodded, his heart swelling with respect for her bravery. "Thank you, Aisha. Your point is crucial. This is just the beginning, and we want to ensure our efforts are sustained. We're committed to building relationships and creating a space where everyone feels welcome." As the day progressed, it became clear that Malcolm's vision was resonating with the community. He saw the spark of hope in their eyes, the desire for change mirrored in his own. Together, they could build something beautiful. After the breakout sessions, they reconvened for a closing ceremony. Local musicians performed, filling the rooftop with soulful melodies that echoed through the city. People danced, laughter filled the air, and for a brief moment, the challenges they faced seemed to fade away. Standing on the rooftop, surrounded by vibrant energy, Malcolm felt a sense of purpose wash over him. This was what he had envisioned, a community coming together to celebrate their differences, to share their stories, and to forge a path toward understanding. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the gathering, Malcolm took to the microphone. "Thank you all for being here today. Your voices matter, and together we can create a legacy that celebrates diversity and fosters understanding. Let's commit to ongoing dialogue and collaboration." The crowd erupted in applause, and Malcolm felt a surge of emotion. This was more than just a hotel. It was a movement. He could feel the weight of history lifting, the barriers slowly beginning to crumble. After the event concluded, guests lingered, continuing to connect and share stories. Malcolm moved through the crowd, engaging with individuals and absorbing their experiences. The genuine gratitude in their eyes reminded him of why he was fighting this battle. As the last guests departed, Malcolm felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The day had been a success, not just in terms of attendance, but in the connections made and the conversations sparked. He turned to Samantha, who was busy tidying up the space. "We did it," he said, a grin spreading across his face. This was incredible. Samantha beamed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It exceeded my expectations. The energy was contagious, and I truly believe we're on the right path." "But this is just the start," Malcolm cautioned. "We have to keep this momentum going. We need to act on the feedback we received and create tangible programs that make a difference." Samantha nodded, her expression serious. "Absolutely. We should set up regular follow-ups with the community. It's crucial that they see us as partners, not just a hotel trying to boost its image." As they began to clean up, the conversations from the day echoed in Malcolm's mind. Each story, each laugh, and each moment of connection solidified his resolve to be a force for good. He wanted to ensure that the hotel became a safe haven, a place where everyone felt a sense of belonging. In the following weeks, Malcolm and Samantha worked tirelessly to implement the suggestions from the town hall. They established partnerships with local organizations, organized community workshops, and created a mentorship program for young people interested in hospitality careers. They also introduced cultural nights at the hotel, showcasing the diverse culinary talents of local chefs and providing a platform for artists to share their work. Each event was met with enthusiasm, drawing in community members and hotel guests alike. Malcolm felt the atmosphere shift within the hotel. Staff members were more engaged, embracing the changes and actively participating in the initiatives. The hotel had become a hub of activity, filled with laughter, conversation, and a sense of unity. But as Malcolm stood back and observed the transformation, he knew they still had a long way to go. There were still whispers of doubt, and he was aware that not everyone in the community would embrace the change. Some would remain skeptical, questioning their motives. One day, as he reviewed feedback from recent events, he received an unexpected email from Paul, the security guard who had confronted him during his unannounced visit. The message was brief but loaded with implications. "Malcolm, I've heard some things about the changes happening at the hotel. I just want to remind you that not everyone in our line of work sees things the way you do. Some of us believe in maintaining the status quo." Malcolm felt a chill run down his spine. The words hung heavy in the air, a reminder that change often breeds resistance. He pondered the implications of Paul's message, recognizing that not everyone shared his vision. That night, he called Samantha into his office. "I received an email from Paul," he said, his voice low. "He's not on board with the changes we're implementing. I fear there might be pushback from certain staff members." Samantha frowned, concern etching her features. "We need to address this head-on. If there's resistance among our staff, it could undermine everything we're trying to achieve. We must create a culture that values inclusivity, and that starts with our team." "I agree," Malcolm replied, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "We need to hold a staff meeting and openly discuss the changes. We can't afford to let anyone feel sidelined or marginalized." The next day, they gathered the hotel staff in the main conference room, the atmosphere tense with uncertainty. Malcolm took a deep breath, preparing to confront the apprehension head-on. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his voice steady. "I want to acknowledge that the changes we're implementing may be unsettling for some. However, I truly believe that fostering an inclusive environment will ultimately benefit us all. It's not just about our guests. It's about each and every one of us." Paul sat in the back, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. "But what about the hotel's reputation?" he challenged. "What if these changes drive away our traditional clientele?" Malcolm felt the room hold its breath, sensing the gravity of the question. "Change can be uncomfortable. I understand that. But we cannot continue to thrive on outdated notions of exclusivity. The world is changing, and so must we. By opening our doors to everyone, we create a richer experience for our guests and ourselves. The conversation grew more heated as staff members expressed their concerns. Some echoed Paul's sentiments, while others shared their excitement about the new direction. It became clear that the meeting was both a turning point and a battleground of ideas. Samantha stepped in, her voice calm yet firm. "We can't forget why we're here. This hotel should reflect the community we serve. It should be a place where everyone feels welcome. If we embrace this change, we'll not only attract a more diverse clientele, but also create a stronger, more unified team." Gradually, the atmosphere began to shift. Staff members started to voice their support, sharing their own experiences of feeling out of place or judged. Malcolm felt a flicker of hope igniting within him as he watched the dialogue unfold. As the meeting concluded, Malcolm realized they had turned a corner. While not everyone was on board, the discussions had sparked a willingness to listen and engage. The seeds of change were being planted. In the weeks that followed, the hotel thrived. Guests poured in for the cultural nights, and community members began to see the hotel as a place of belonging. The rooftop lounge transformed into a vibrant space, filled with music, art, and laughter. Malcolm's heart swelled with pride as he watched the transformation. He saw the potential for lasting change, and he knew that their efforts were making a difference. But he also understood that the road ahead would be paved with challenges. With every step forward, there would be pushback. But together, they were forging a path toward inclusivity, a journey that would take time, perseverance, and unwavering belief in the power of unity. As he looked out over the city from the rooftop, Malcolm felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was only the beginning, and he was ready to face whatever came next, driven by the belief that everyone deserved to feel valued, respected, and at home. In the weeks that followed, the hotel thrived. Guests poured in for the cultural nights, and community members began to see the hotel as a place of belonging. The rooftop lounge transformed into a vibrant space, filled with music, art, and laughter. Malcolm's heart swelled with pride as he watched the transformation. He saw the potential for lasting change, and he knew that their efforts were making a difference. But he also understood that the road ahead would be paved with challenges. With every step forward, there would be pushback. But together, they were forging a path toward inclusivity, a journey that would take time, perseverance, and unwavering belief in the power of unity. As he looked out over the city from the rooftop, Malcolm felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was only the beginning, and he was ready to face whatever came next, driven by the belief that everyone deserved to feel valued, respected, and at home. Confronting the past, the sun rose slowly over the horizon, casting a warm golden light across the city as Malcolm stood in the hotel lobby, watching guests filter in for the day. A sense of accomplishment filled him. The recent cultural nights had been a resounding success, drawing a diverse crowd and sparking connections he had only dreamed of before. But as the excitement settled, he was acutely aware of the undercurrents of tension within the hotel staff. Malcolm's success story was intertwined with the challenges he faced, both personally and professionally. Despite the progress he had made in fostering an inclusive environment, the reality of the hotel's history lingered like an unwanted shadow. Some staff members, especially those loyal to Paul, seemed resistant to the changes he was championing. Malcolm understood that confronting these issues head-on was crucial to building a truly unified team. One afternoon, he gathered the management team in a conference room. Samantha, Paul, and a few other key staff members took their seats, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken words. Malcolm sensed the unease, especially from Paul, who sat with his arms crossed, wearing a skeptical expression. "Thank you all for coming," Malcolm began, his voice steady but firm. "We need to address the growing tensions among the staff regarding our new initiatives. It's essential that we have open conversations to understand where everyone stands and to make sure we're all on the same page." Paul scoffed, leaning back in his chair. "Is it really necessary to have these conversations? The changes you're making are going to turn our loyal clientele away. You may be excited about inclusivity, but our bottom line is what matters." Malcolm took a deep breath, fighting the urge to react defensively. "I understand your concerns, Paul, but it's crucial to recognize that our community is changing. To thrive, we must evolve with it. Our new initiatives are not just about broadening our clientele. They're about fostering a sense of belonging for everyone." A murmur of agreement rippled through the room, and Malcolm felt a surge of hope. This hotel was built on the foundation of hospitality, a word that means more than just providing a service. It means creating a welcoming space for everyone, regardless of their background. Samantha leaned forward, her eyes focused on Paul. "We can't ignore the fact that our industry is evolving. Our competitors are already embracing diversity, and if we want to stay relevant, we have to do the same. Change can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary for growth." Paul shook his head, disbelief etched on his face. "So we just throw out everything we've built and start fresh? That doesn't make sense." "It's not about throwing out our foundation," Malcolm interjected, his voice calm yet resolute. "It's about building on it. We need to understand that the hospitality industry is about people, and if we want to truly serve our community, we must reflect its diversity." As the conversation continued, Malcolm noticed that Paul was becoming increasingly defensive. He realized that this wasn't just a conversation about business. It was deeply personal for Paul, who had spent years working in an environment that had grown comfortable in its exclusivity. "Paul," Malcolm said gently, "I want you to share your thoughts openly. What are your real concerns? Let's discuss what you believe is at stake here." After a moment of silence, Paul finally spoke, his voice quieter. "I've seen what happens when you change things too quickly. People resist it, and they'll look for other places to stay. I've worked hard to build relationships with our clientele, and I don't want to lose that." "Relationships are important," Samantha replied, "but they should be built on inclusivity. If our clientele values diversity, they will appreciate our efforts to reach out to the community. And if not, we need to ask ourselves whether those are the clients we want to serve." The discussion shifted from resistance to understanding. Staff members shared their own experiences, revealing the challenges they faced in a workplace that had often marginalized their voices. Malcolm felt a mixture of pride and sadness as he listened to their stories. He realized that the very culture he sought to change had roots in fear and insecurity. Days turned into weeks, and the hotel continued to transform. Malcolm and Samantha implemented regular check-ins with the staff, allowing everyone to voice their opinions and concerns. They hosted workshops on diversity and inclusion, inviting experts to lead discussions on understanding bias and fostering empathy. As Malcolm dove deeper into the community, he began attending local events, meeting with leaders from various organizations, and engaging in conversations about social justice and equity. Each interaction opened his eyes to the intricacies of the city's fabric, revealing stories that had long gone unheard. He began to see the profound impact of his hotel as a catalyst for change, but the journey was fraught with obstacles. One evening, Malcolm attended a community meeting at a local church. The atmosphere buzzed with energy as residents gathered to discuss pressing issues, from housing inequality to access to education. As he entered the room, heads turned and whispers filled the air. Some recognized him from the recent town hall, while others were still skeptical about his presence. "Thank you for coming," the pastor said, welcoming him to the stage. "We need more allies in our fight for justice, and it's encouraging to see a business owner here today." Malcolm felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. He had come to listen to learn, but he also knew that his presence could be met with suspicion. As he took the mic, he looked out at the faces in the audience, feeling the weight of their expectations. "I'm here to listen and to understand," he began, his voice steady. "I know that my presence may raise questions, and I welcome those questions. I want to ensure that our hotel is a place that truly reflects our community, and that starts with having honest conversations." The room was silent, the weight of his words lingering in the air. A woman in the front row stood up, her arms crossed. "What are you really doing for our community, Malcolm?" It's easy to say you want to help, but actions speak louder than words. Can you promise that your hotel will always prioritize inclusivity? Malcolm nodded, feeling the intensity of her gaze. I can't promise that we'll always get it right, but I can promise that we are committed to listening, learning, and growing. We want to create partnerships that uplift our community and ensure that everyone feels welcome in our space. The discussion continued, with community members voicing their concerns, sharing their struggles, and challenging Malcolm to follow through on his promises. Each exchange was a reminder of the responsibility he carried. It wasn't just about running a hotel. It was about being a part of a community. As the evening progressed, Malcolm felt a renewed sense of purpose. The conversations were raw, honest, and sometimes uncomfortable, but they were necessary. By the time he left the meeting, he felt more connected to the community than ever before. In the weeks that followed, Malcolm made it a point to attend more community events. He began to foster relationships with local leaders, listening to their insights and engaging in meaningful dialogue. He realized that the more he immersed himself in the community, the more he could bridge the gap between his hotel and its neighbors. One afternoon, Malcolm received a call from Carla, the director of the local youth center they had partnered with for workshops. Malcolm, I wanted to let you know how grateful we are for your support. The kids are so excited about the upcoming hospitality program. Thank you, Carla. I'm glad to hear it. It's important for us to invest in the next generation. We want to provide them with opportunities to explore careers in hospitality and entrepreneurship. Carla paused, her voice turning serious. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I also want to remind you that trust doesn't come easy. Some community members are still wary of corporate interests. It's essential that we approach this with sensitivity. Malcolm nodded, understanding the weight of her words. I completely agree. We need to ensure that our intentions are transparent and that we're truly engaging with the community, not just checking boxes. As he prepared for the upcoming workshops, Malcolm felt the excitement of possibility mingled with anxiety. He wanted the program to be a meaningful experience for the participants, and he hoped that they would leave feeling empowered and inspired. The day of the first workshop arrived, and the energy in the hotel was palpable. Malcolm stood in front of a group of eager young faces, ready to share his journey. He felt a surge of pride as he looked at them, knowing that he was in a position to make a difference. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here, he said, his voice warm and inviting. Today, we're going to explore the world of hospitality together. I want to share my story with you, but I also want to hear yours. Your voices matter. As he shared his journey, the kids listened intently. He spoke about his struggles, the barriers he faced, and the importance of resilience. He wanted them to understand that they, too, could overcome challenges and create their own paths. The workshop continued with hands-on activities, where the participants explored different aspects of hospitality, customer service, teamwork, and creativity. They worked in teams to design their own restaurant concepts, pouring their ideas onto paper with enthusiasm and passion. As the day progressed, Malcolm witnessed the spark of creativity ignite within the group. They laughed, collaborated, and shared their dreams, each one more ambitious than the last. For Malcolm, it was a moment of triumph, a reminder of the power of connection and mentorship. After the workshop, as the kids began to leave, one young girl approached him, her eyes shining with excitement. Mr. Harris, do you really think I could own my own restaurant one day? Absolutely, Malcolm replied, kneeling to meet her gaze. You have the talent, the passion, and the drive. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't achieve your dreams. Keep working hard and believe in yourself. As she smiled, Malcolm felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He had found a way to not only change his hotel's culture, but also to impact the lives of the young people in his community. This was what he had envisioned when he began his journey of transformation. Yet, despite the progress being made, Malcolm was still aware of the lingering resistance among some staff members, particularly Paul. The road ahead remained uncertain, but he knew that by continuing to foster open dialogue and meaningful connections, they could work through the challenges together. The experience at the youth center had awakened something within him, a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of their work and the community. As he prepared for the next phase of their journey, he felt a renewed sense of determination to push forward. The work was far from over, but Malcolm was committed to facing each obstacle with courage, empathy, and a deep belief that everyone deserved to feel seen, heard, and valued. Together with his team, he would continue to pave the way for a brighter, more inclusive future, one conversation, one workshop, and one moment at a time. A ripple effect. The sun hummed low in the sky, painting the city with hues of orange and pink as Malcolm prepared for another busy day at the hotel. The cultural nights had become a staple in the community, drawing in locals and visitors alike. But with the success came new challenges, especially as the staff continued to navigate the shift in culture and inclusivity. As he walked through the hotel, Malcolm couldn't help but notice the energy in the air. Guests mingled in the lobby, laughter echoed from the rooftop lounge, and the scent of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the cafe. Yet he was acutely aware of the undercurrents of tension among his staff, especially with Paul still reluctant to embrace the changes they were implementing. Malcolm knew that to create a truly inclusive environment, he had to address the heart of the matter: communication. He wanted to ensure that every staff member felt valued and heard, regardless of their position or tenure at the hotel. One afternoon, he gathered the entire staff in the main conference room. The chatter subsided as he stepped forward, taking a deep breath. "Thank you all for being here. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the hard work everyone has put in to make our hotel a welcoming space. I appreciate your efforts, but I also want to address the concerns that have surfaced." A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Malcolm continued, "I know that change can be unsettling, and I want to create an environment where we can discuss our thoughts openly. This is a journey we are on together, and it's essential that we all feel comfortable sharing our experiences." Paul shifted uncomfortably in his seat, arms crossed. Malcolm had noticed that he often reacted defensively whenever change was mentioned, and he wanted to provide an opportunity for constructive dialogue. "Let's start by discussing any concerns you may have about our current initiatives," Malcolm said, inviting input from the staff. One of the front desk attendants, Maria, raised her hand hesitantly. "I appreciate the cultural nights, but sometimes I feel like they're more for show. We need to ensure that our everyday practices reflect our commitment to inclusivity, not just special events." Malcolm nodded, recognizing the validity of her point. "You're absolutely right, Maria. It's not enough to host events. We need to integrate inclusivity into our daily operations and interactions with guests." A few heads nodded in agreement. Another staff member, David, added, "I think some of our guests are still stuck in old ways. There are times when I've overheard comments that make me uncomfortable. We need to address those issues too." "Thank you for bringing that up, David," Malcolm replied, feeling the weight of their concerns. "It's vital that we create a culture of respect. I want everyone to know that they can speak up if they witness any behavior that doesn't align with our values." As the discussion continued, staff members shared their experiences, concerns, and suggestions. The atmosphere gradually shifted from apprehension to openness, and Malcolm felt a sense of relief. This was the kind of dialogue he had envisioned, a space where everyone felt empowered to contribute. Over the next few weeks, Malcolm and Samantha worked tirelessly to implement the feedback they received. They organized training sessions on cultural sensitivity and customer service, emphasizing the importance of treating every guest with dignity and respect. They also established a system for reporting any incidents of discrimination or disrespect, ensuring that staff felt supported in their roles. One evening, after a particularly successful cultural night, Malcolm was on his way home when he received a text from Samantha. "We need to talk. Can you meet me at the cafe?" He arrived at the cafe, a cozy spot just a few blocks from the hotel, and found Samantha sitting at a table with a serious expression. "What's going on?" he asked, settling into the chair across from her. "I just came from a meeting with Paul," she replied, her voice low. "He's becoming increasingly vocal about his concerns, and I worry he's rallying some of the staff against the changes we're making." Malcolm felt a knot form in his stomach. "Have you tried talking to him?" "I have, but he believes that our efforts are misguided and that we're compromising the hotel's reputation," Samantha explained. "He's mentioned wanting to scale back some of the initiatives, and I think it's important for you to have a direct conversation with him." Malcolm nodded, feeling the weight of the situation. "I need to address this before it escalates. The last thing we want is a divide within the team." As they talked, Malcolm's resolve solidified. He was committed to creating a culture that embraced inclusivity, and he understood that meant confronting resistance head-on. The next day, he arranged a meeting with Paul to discuss the issues that had been raised. As they sat across from each other in Malcolm's office, he could sense the tension in the air. "Thank you for meeting with me, Paul. I wanted to discuss your concerns about the changes we've been implementing." Paul leaned back in his chair, arms crossed defensively. "Look, Malcolm, I just think you're going too far too fast. You can't expect everyone to jump on board with these changes overnight." "I understand that change can be difficult," Malcolm replied, choosing his words carefully. "But we need to recognize that our industry is evolving. Our guests expect a certain level of inclusivity, and if we don't adapt, we risk becoming irrelevant." "You think our guests care about all this?" Paul retorted. "I've been in this business long enough to know what people want. They come here for luxury, not a social justice seminar." Malcolm felt frustration rising within him. "It's not about sacrificing luxury. It's about enhancing the experience for all our guests. By fostering inclusivity, we create a richer environment that appeals to a broader audience. It's not just about catering to the traditional clientele anymore." Paul shook his head, his expression resolute. "You're making a mistake, Malcolm. You'll see." Malcolm took a deep breath, trying to maintain his composure. "I respect your experience, Paul, but I believe in the vision we're creating. I want to work with you to ensure that we're all on the same page. I don't want this to become a divisive issue." For a moment, the room fell silent. Malcolm watched as Paul's expression softened slightly, revealing the weariness behind his defensiveness. "I just don't want to lose what we've built here," he finally said, his voice quieter. "None of us do," Malcolm reassured him. "But what we're building now has the potential to be even greater. Let's find a way to bridge our ideas and create a vision that respects our history while embracing the future." As their conversation continued, Malcolm felt a glimmer of hope. While Paul's skepticism remained, he sensed a willingness to engage in dialogue. They discussed potential compromises and strategies to ensure the changes felt authentic rather than forced. It was a step forward, albeit a small one. In the weeks that followed, Malcolm worked to foster collaboration among the staff. He organized team-building activities to strengthen relationships and encourage a sense of camaraderie. They engaged in discussions about the hotel's mission and values, allowing every team member to contribute their ideas and perspectives. As the hotel's culture continued to evolve, Malcolm noticed a shift among the staff. The initial resistance began to dissipate as they embraced the new initiatives. The cultural nights grew more vibrant, featuring diverse cuisines, music, and art that reflected the community's rich tapestry. One evening, as Malcolm walked through the hotel, he spotted a group of staff members gathered around a table in the cafe, animatedly discussing an upcoming event. They were brainstorming ways to incorporate local artists into the cultural nights, showcasing talent from the neighborhood. Feeling a surge of pride, Malcolm approached them. "This is fantastic. I love seeing everyone engaged in the planning process." A waitress named Jenna looked up, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "We were thinking of hosting an open mic night next month. We want to give local musicians a platform to showcase their talent. What do you think?" "I think that's an amazing idea," Malcolm replied, genuinely enthusiastic. "It's a great way to involve the community and create an inclusive atmosphere." As they continued discussing the event, Malcolm felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. The staff was beginning to embrace the changes, and their enthusiasm was infectious. He knew that the ripple effect of their efforts was starting to manifest in powerful ways. One afternoon, Malcolm received an email from a local nonprofit that focused on youth empowerment. They were interested in partnering with the hotel to create internship opportunities for local high school students interested in hospitality. The opportunity felt serendipitous, aligning perfectly with his vision of community engagement. Excited, he reached out to the organization to set up a meeting. As they discussed the potential partnership, Malcolm felt a deep sense of purpose. The prospect of providing opportunities for young people to gain valuable experience in the hospitality industry resonated with him on a personal level. A few weeks later, they launched the internship program, welcoming the group of bright, eager students into the hotel. Malcolm made it a priority to mentor them personally, sharing his journey and encouraging them to chase their dreams. On the first day of the program, he stood in front of the interns, his heart swelling with pride. "Welcome, everyone. I'm thrilled to have you here. This is an opportunity not just to learn about hospitality, but to grow as individuals. I want you to ask questions, share your ideas, and feel empowered to make an impact." As the weeks went by, the interns became integral members of the hotel team. They brought fresh perspectives and energy, and Malcolm was impressed by their creativity and enthusiasm. He enjoyed sharing stories of his own journey, hoping to inspire them to believe in their potential. One day, during a lunch break, Malcolm sat down with a group of interns. "What do you all think of the program so far? Is there anything you'd like to change?" As they talked, Malcolm noticed a slight shift in Paul's demeanor. Though he remained skeptical, there was a willingness to engage in the conversation. They brainstormed ways to integrate staff feedback while ensuring that the hotel's core values were upheld. In the weeks that followed, Malcolm continued to promote a culture of open dialogue. He organized regular check-ins with the staff to gather feedback and address any concerns. Slowly, he began to see a change in Paul's attitude. He started participating more in team discussions, and his contributions reflected a growing understanding of the hotel's evolving identity. As the internship program progressed, the interns developed their own ideas for future events, demonstrating their creativity and enthusiasm. One day, Malcolm received an email from Maya proposing a cultural showcase that highlighted the diverse backgrounds of the interns and staff. Excited about the prospect, Malcolm gathered the interns and staff to discuss the idea. "I love this. Let's create a cultural showcase that celebrates our diversity and the unique stories each of you brings to the table." The team rallied around the idea, brainstorming themes, activities, and food that represented different cultures. As the event drew near, the energy in the hotel was palpable. Staff members who had once been skeptical were now excited to participate, showcasing their heritage and learning about one another. On the day of the cultural showcase, the hotel transformed into a vibrant celebration of diversity. Decorations adorned the lobby, and different stations highlighted various cultures through food, music, and art. Guests mingled, enjoying the festivities and embracing the spirit of inclusivity. As Malcolm walked through the hotel, he felt a sense of pride swell within him. This was the culmination of their hard work and commitment, a testament to the transformative power of community and collaboration. At the end of the evening, he stood before the crowd, feeling grateful for the journey they had undertaken. "Thank you all for being a part of this incredible celebration. Our diversity is our strength. And tonight, we've shown that by coming together, we can create something truly special." As the applause echoed in the air, Malcolm glanced over at Paul, who was engaged in animated conversation with a group of staff members. The shift in dynamics was evident. Paul was no longer on the sidelines. He was actively participating and embracing the changes they had implemented. As the night came to a close, Malcolm felt a profound sense of hope. The challenges they had faced had only strengthened their resolve, and he knew that they were on the right path. Together, they would continue to cultivate a culture of inclusivity, not just within the hotel, but throughout the community. Foundations of change. The aftermath of the cultural showcase lingered in the air like a sweet fragrance, with echoes of laughter and celebration still ringing in Malcolm's ears. He stood on the rooftop terrace of the hotel, gazing at the skyline, reflecting on how far they had come. The vibrancy of the event had solidified the hotel's commitment to inclusivity, but the work was far from over. He knew that creating lasting change required continual effort and vigilance. In the weeks following the showcase, the hotel buzzed with newfound energy. Guests left positive reviews, praising the cultural nights and the welcoming atmosphere. For Malcolm, these responses were not just metrics of success. They were reminders of the purpose behind the work he was doing. He wanted the hotel to be more than a place to stay. He wanted it to be a home for everyone who walked through its doors. Yet, behind the scenes, Malcolm remained attuned to the tensions that still simmered among some staff members, particularly Paul. The recent changes had brought about a visible shift in morale, but Malcolm understood that the deeper issues would take time to resolve. One afternoon, Malcolm decided it was time for another staff meeting to assess the changes since the cultural showcase. He wanted to gauge their thoughts and feelings on the new initiatives and see how they could further refine their approach. As the staff gathered in the conference room, he felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. This meeting was about more than just updates. It was a chance to address lingering concerns and keep the lines of communication open. "Thank you all for coming," Malcolm began, looking around at the familiar faces. "Today, I want to hear your thoughts about the cultural showcase and the initiatives we've implemented. Your feedback is vital to our success." Maria, the front desk attendant who had been vocal about her concerns before, was the first to speak. "The cultural showcase was amazing. I loved seeing everyone come together to celebrate our diversity. But I feel like we need to keep that energy going. It can't just be a one-off event." Malcolm nodded, grateful for her insight. "Absolutely, Maria. This is just the beginning. We need to continue fostering an environment where our diversity is celebrated daily, not just during special events." David chimed in next. "I agree. We should look at ways to incorporate different cultures into our daily operations, from the menu in the cafe to the art displayed in the lobby." Paul, who had been quiet until now, leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "I'm all for inclusivity, but we need to ensure that we maintain our standards of service. We can't let the focus on culture overshadow our primary goal of providing an exceptional experience for our guests." Malcolm appreciated Paul's perspective, but he sensed an underlying defensiveness. "That's a valid point, Paul. Our commitment to service is essential, but inclusivity doesn't compromise quality. In fact, when we embrace diverse perspectives, we enhance our service by understanding and catering to a broader range of guests' needs." The conversation continued, with staff members sharing their ideas and concerns. Malcolm could feel the atmosphere shifting toward a more collaborative spirit. As they discussed potential changes, he saw Paul begin to soften, engaging more with the ideas being presented. After the meeting, Malcolm approached Paul. "I appreciate your input today, Paul. I know this has been a challenging transition, but I truly believe we can find a balance that maintains our standards while embracing inclusivity." Paul looked thoughtful, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "I want to support the direction you're taking, Malcolm. I just worry about losing the essence of what we've built." "Trust me," Malcolm replied, his voice steady. "I want to honor our legacy while also pushing us forward. We're building something new together, and I believe it can be extraordinary." As they discussed strategies to enhance the hotel's inclusivity, Malcolm felt a sense of optimism. While they still had a long way to go, the willingness to engage in open dialogue signaled a positive shift in their dynamic. That evening, Malcolm returned home, his mind buzzing with ideas. He knew that fostering inclusivity required more than just dialogue. It needed action. The following day, he gathered the management team to brainstorm initiatives that would deepen their commitment to inclusivity. "We need to make our values more visible in everything we do," he said, pacing the conference room. From the training we provide to our hiring practices, we need to reflect our commitment to diversity and inclusion. Samantha, who had been taking notes, looked up. What if we implement a mentorship program? We can pair seasoned staff with new hires from diverse backgrounds to ensure they feel welcomed and supported. I love that idea, Malcolm replied, energized by the suggestion. And let's also consider hosting workshops on cultural awareness for all staff members. The more we learn about each other, the better equipped we'll be to serve our guests. As they continued to brainstorm, Malcolm felt a surge of excitement. This was the kind of proactive approach that would foster a lasting culture of inclusivity within the hotel. In the weeks that followed, the management team rolled out the mentorship program and began organizing cultural awareness workshops. The response from staff was overwhelmingly positive. They embraced the opportunity to learn about each other's backgrounds and experiences, creating a sense of unity that had been lacking before. One afternoon, during a cultural awareness workshop, Malcolm sat at the back of the room, observing the interaction. The facilitator, a local community leader, led the discussion on the importance of understanding cultural differences and biases. Staff members participated actively, sharing their experiences and reflecting on how they could improve their interactions with guests. As the workshop came to a close, Malcolm felt a sense of accomplishment. The staff was becoming more comfortable discussing difficult topics, and he could see that they were beginning to understand the importance of inclusivity, not just as a policy but as a core value. Yet, as progress was being made, Malcolm also recognized the need to address the perceptions of their guests. To that end, he decided to launch a guest feedback initiative to gain insights into how they perceive the hotel's commitment to inclusivity. He crafted a survey that included questions about guests' experiences related to the hotel's culture and inclusivity. As responses began to roll in, he eagerly reviewed them. Most guests expressed appreciation for the hotel's welcoming atmosphere, but a few highlighted areas for improvement, such as ensuring that all staff members were consistently educated on cultural sensitivity. Malcolm took these comments to heart. He gathered the management team to discuss the feedback and determine how they could address the concerns raised. We need to ensure that every staff member embodies our commitment to inclusivity, he emphasized. If there are gaps in understanding, we need to close them. Paul, who had become increasingly engaged in discussions about inclusivity, raised his hand. I think we should implement regular refresher courses for all staff. This way, everyone stays updated on best practices and feels confident in their interactions with diverse guests. That's an excellent suggestion, Paul, Malcolm replied, impressed with his initiative. Let's make it a priority to schedule those sessions in the coming months. As they developed a plan for ongoing training, Malcolm felt a sense of momentum. The hotel was transforming, and the commitment to inclusivity was becoming ingrained in the culture. As the months passed, the hotel continued to flourish. The mentorship program fostered strong relationships among staff, and the cultural awareness workshops created a deeper understanding of the diverse backgrounds within their team. However, Malcolm knew that change was a continual process. One evening, as he sat at his desk reviewing financial reports, he received a call from Samantha. Malcolm, we've received an inquiry from a prominent travel magazine. They want to feature us in an article about hotels that prioritize inclusivity. They're particularly interested in our recent initiatives. Excitement surged through him. That's incredible. This could put us on the map and showcase the work we're doing. Samantha agreed. Let's prepare a comprehensive overview of our initiatives and the impact they've had on both staff and guests. We want to highlight the story behind the changes we've made. Over the next few days, Malcolm and Samantha worked diligently to gather information, interviews, and anecdotes from staff and guests. They crafted a narrative that illustrated the journey of transformation, emphasizing the hotel's commitment to inclusivity and community engagement. When the article was published, the response was overwhelming. Guests began to flock to the hotel, eager to experience the welcoming atmosphere that had garnered such acclaim. Malcolm felt a sense of pride as he read the glowing reviews, knowing that their hard work was paying off. However, he also remained vigilant, aware that with increased visibility came greater scrutiny. He gathered the staff to discuss the article and the influx of guests. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to showcase the values we've embraced. Let's ensure that every guest feels welcome and valued during their stay. In the weeks that followed, the hotel became a hub of activity. Guests from various backgrounds came to experience the inclusive atmosphere, and the staff rose to the occasion, welcoming each visitor with genuine warmth and enthusiasm. One day, as Malcolm walked through the lobby, he overheard a group of guests discussing their experience. "I've never felt so welcomed in a hotel before," one of them said. It's clear that they truly care about creating an inclusive environment. Malcolm's heart swelled with pride. This was the impact he had envisioned when he began his journey. The hotel was not just a place to stay. It was a space where people could connect, celebrate their differences, and feel at home. Despite the success, Malcolm knew they could not become complacent. He continued to seek feedback from guests and staff, remaining committed to the journey of inclusivity. One day, as he reviewed the latest survey results, he noticed a pattern in the feedback. Guests consistently mentioned the warmth and hospitality of the staff, but a few highlighted the need for more culturally diverse menu options. Recognizing this as an opportunity for growth, he scheduled a meeting with the culinary team. "I want us to explore how we can introduce more diverse cuisine into our offerings," he said. "It's important for our menu to reflect the diversity of our guests." The culinary team responded with enthusiasm, brainstorming ideas that incorporated various cultural influences. They collaborated with local chefs to create a rotating menu that celebrated different cuisines, allowing guests to experience a taste of the world during their stay. As the new menu launched, Malcolm felt a sense of excitement. It was another step toward creating a more inclusive experience for their guests. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Guests praised the culinary offerings and appreciated the effort to incorporate diverse flavors into their dining experience. With each initiative, Malcolm felt a growing sense of purpose. They were not just making changes to check off a box. They were cultivating a culture that embraced inclusivity at its core. And as the hotel flourished, he realized that the true success lay in the connections being forged among staff, guests, and the community. One evening, as Malcolm sat in the hotel's lobby, watching the interactions between guests and staff, he was approached by Maya, one of the interns who had become a staple in the hotel's cultural initiatives. "Malcolm, can I talk to you for a second?" she asked, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "Of course, Maya. What's on your mind?" "I've been thinking about how we can further engage the community," she said. "What if we create a partnership with local schools? We can invite students to tour the hotel, learn about the hospitality industry, and even participate in some of our cultural events." "That's a brilliant idea," Malcolm replied, energized by her proposal. Not only would it provide valuable experiences for the students, but it would also strengthen our ties to the community. "Let's start planning this initiative." As they discussed the logistics, Malcolm felt a sense of fulfillment. This was exactly what he had envisioned when he began his journey, using the hotel as a platform for empowerment and connection. Over the next few months, they organized tours for local schools, inviting students to experience the hotel firsthand. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Students were excited to learn about the various roles within the hospitality industry, and staff members took pride in sharing their experiences. Malcolm watched as the hotel continued to blossom, not just as a business, but as a community hub. They had created a space where people from all walks of life felt welcome, and he was proud of the legacy they were building. As the seasons changed, Malcolm reflected on the journey they had undertaken. The challenges they had faced had only strengthened their resolve, and the relationships they had cultivated had become the foundation of their success. But even as he reveled in the hotel's achievements, he remained vigilant, understanding that the work of inclusivity was ongoing. One afternoon, as he strolled through the lobby, he spotted Paul chatting with some staff members. The transformation in Paul's demeanor was evident. He was no longer a figure resistant to change, but an active participant in creating a welcoming atmosphere. Malcolm approached him, a smile on his face. "Paul, it's great to see you engaging with the team. I've noticed a significant shift in how everyone collaborates." "Thanks, Malcolm. I've come to realize that embracing inclusivity only strengthens our service," Paul replied, his tone sincere. "I appreciate the direction you're taking us. It's made me rethink a lot of things." "That's what it's all about, growth and understanding," Malcolm said, feeling a sense of pride in how far they had come as a team. As the hotel continued to thrive, Malcolm envisioned a future where their commitment to inclusivity was woven into the very fabric of the community. He knew that the path ahead would still have its challenges, but with a dedicated team and a shared vision, they were more than equipped to face whatever came their way. The journey had just begun, and Malcolm was excited to see how far they could go together. With each passing day, they were building not just a hotel, but a legacy of inclusivity, resilience, and connection that would leave a lasting impact for generations to come.